Oh, well, when you have people that are shackled by debt, you lose the people to purchase things in the marketplace, but we're so constrained that you talk about the rolling jubilee, where they're purchasing debt for pennies on the dollar, is that because we ran out of industry in this country, the only thing that we have left or selling is debt, debt and cheap Chinese goods. It goes to show you that it is one of the only marketplaces that's left in this country is, well, debt and, well, cheap Chinese goods. Where this country is going to go, if you pay rent in a city like Los Angeles and you pay student loans and you are working, you are successful. I mean, people from previous generations may tell you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but then again, they didn't have to live with our cost of living. They didn't have to live in a society without unions, they do not live in our time. For them to criticize us is a rather moot and rather idiotic point. And it's constantly being made. Go watch The O'Reilly Factor. All they ever talk about how this generation's lazy and just keeps charging things up. I'm like, you grew up in a unionized workforce home. Don't even go there. You know?
Yeah, it's not the world of opportunity that it was for Bill O'Reilly when he graduated high school.
No.
Well, first of all, I mean, he probably, being a white man and everything, when he did, kind of enter into the workforce, had all kinds of advantages just because of that. But also, absolutely, the economic conditions now are incredibly different than they were then. And when you hear people say stuff like that, to me, it just sort of reinforces the point for me that, yeah, no, we're right and you're wrong. And maybe you should talk to somebody that makes less than, $250,000 a year, and you'd actually see that, no, this is a concern for people. And this is not, oh yeah, you logically just get like the fast food job and in a couple of years you'll be doing, something on your way to the corner office. That's not going to happen.
There's a hypocrisy even on people who are that are conservative who used to work for unionized work agencies, where they're now sitting pretty with pensions and collecting Social Security. I'm like, the only reason that you're well off is because you worked for a unionized airline before they broke the unions. The only reason why you're well off is because you had an environment where you could get out of work, get out of school, and apply yourself for a low education manufacturing job, and you had a high-paying union wage.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities that they grew up are not the same opportunities that we grew up with, and they criticize us on a daily basis for it.
Right, and people who are in a privileged position often are so disconnected. They're in their own bubble. They live in their own different world. I would love to challenge every lawmaker and every corporate high top to live for 3 months on a minimum wage salary, and that's it.
Budget.
That's it. Yeah, $100 in food stamps and minimum wage salary, and throw them out there in the world and tell them, go find a place to live, go find a car, afford food, see how well you manage, and see how long it takes you to snap. And I wonder, do you think then that things would start to change if our policymakers and those who are obviously disconnected with reality of what other people face, if they could actually be put in those circumstances, would things actually be able to change? And why does it have to take that personal experience for anyone to gain some sense of empathy?
It actually, in many ways, it does create a form of animosity towards the youth culture against the previous generation. Is because why would, if you keep criticizing this generation for being lazy, and you expect this young generation to care about your Medicare, it does create a cultural problem. The average, go ask your average 25-year-old or 27-year-old, do they care about, elderly in their Medicare? They don't, because
well, to your point, also, if you're seeing people on TV telling you, bootstraps, you're being lazy, etc., it just creates an area for people to make a cleave in a coalition of folks who we all have a lot more in common than different. But if they can split, younger people versus older people on something like Social Security or Medicare, it just serves the overall kind of divide and conquer strategy. So in some ways, by saying that stuff to us and by angering us in that way, it still winds up serving, sort of yet another goal.
Even if you looked at it from a social Darwinistic perspective, I mean, if you live in Los Angeles and you work, the average rent is over $1,200 a month. You are successful. You're surviving, but you're not sitting on your ass. You're working your ass off.
But survival isn't necessarily success.
No, it's not.
Getting by. It's not.
You're only getting by making a point as far as productivity goes.
Yeah, success doesn't mean that you didn't die today.
Yeah, but they make it sound like because you don't have much to show for it that you are beneath them.
Well, those conservatives, I'm sorry, those same conservatives will point out the fact that you have a microwave and a refrigerator and go, see, you guys are fine. Lucas, sorry, go ahead, man.
No, that's totally true. Well, and that kind of is a great sort of example that I think a lot of times in our politics, people wind up resorting to personal anecdotal experience a lot of times in judging much larger ideas or concepts, that they maybe heard a story about somebody that, and you see it with all kinds of sort of welfare programs or disability programs, whatever, all the time, that somebody hears a story about some outrageous way that somebody was kind of scamming the system, which it absolutely happens, and we don't want that to happen. We want basically to be kind of vigilant on these things not being abused, but it winds up then forming an opinion about everyone that receives that benefit, which isn't fair and which seriously serves to undermine the program.
Absolutely.
So definitely that, and then as Ree, to your point, as far as having people kind of experience it, I think in a lot of ways the United States really does suffer from a lack of empathy, both internally and definitely externally as well. We sort of unleash brutality and misery on many other regions of the world, and yet then we're just completely floored by the fact that lots of people don't like us. In the same way, you have this kind of ruling elite that has really kind of ground down the middle class. And, we always talk about the middle class. There's a whole class of folks that are not in the middle class who are doing even worse, and we should care about them too. Middle class is a great kind of political thing, and it's, there's more political power there, but not a lot of attention gets paid to the plight of the poor.
The working poor.
Yeah, absolutely. But basically, we just have, it seems, this real kind of inability to see that other people may have come up in different circumstances and may have, different needs. And it doesn't mean that they're lazy or that they aren't trying hard. It's just that, and that we may be blind to some of the advantages that we've got. And also, I can't help but point it out too. Tonight is the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And if ever there was kind of a Versailles-like display of our ruling elite, all in this kind of celebrity, star-studded event, I read that E! News is going to be covering the red carpet at the entrance and all. I mean, the fact that these people don't see that this is just really stupid kind of imaging or PR is just a testament to how disconnected and what a lack of empathy there is. Because if they understood the suffering that a lot of people are going through, I don't think that they'd still be putting this event on. But clearly they don't.